Hello everyone and welcome to FiST Chat, the podcast that features discussions on the topics of film, science and technology. My name is Ben Warner and I'm joined again by my good friend and great scientist there, Steve Kern. How you doing there, Steve?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Looking forward to a little bit of a chat today about some films, science and films. That's what FiST Chat's all about.
That's right. We like to combine these things, don't we?
We certainly do.
So don't forget our website, www.fistchat.com. You can get all our social media links, Facebook, Twitter, interact with us there, leave comments or suggestions or any questions you might have. We'll incorporate it into the series. There's also YouTube and MP3, and you can also get us on iTunes. You can subscribe to us there. So, all right, without further ado, let's have a bit of fun with these list of films. We're actually going to be talking about we did a similar topic like this in a previous episode, but we're specifically going to focus on the films of 2011, because there's actually quite a few sci-fi films. Hollywood's always been good at mining science fiction for its own amusement and profit.
What can we say? It's back in vogue. You know, has it got to do with 3D? Has it got to do with the fact that people are hungry for science all over again?
Well, or dubious science, depending on which type of film you're watching. But some of the ones that are in there are quite interesting. If we take a look, Source Code, for example, that actually has a really interesting science fiction premise to it. The idea that you can sort of tap into a sort of like an echo of an event that's happened in the past, and it's actually quite an interesting little experiment there. Have you heard much about it, Steve? Or
no, I haven't. I've heard about the theory though. The idea that there are remnants in our universe of what happened in the past. That's actually true, cosmically. So we all know about the Big Bang and the universe started like that. Well, they know a lot about the history of the universe because cosmic remnants of the Big Bang are still out there. And that's how they have worked out a lot about where the universe or I guess the matter in the universe has come from.
Well, that's like on a broader point when it comes to science fiction. That's why I really enjoy the genre a lot. Is that there's so much we don't know about the universe that really, just because from a scientific point of view we don't understand it right now, it doesn't mean that it can't happen or it doesn't exist. So, but that's another one. For example, you got another X-Men movie coming out with the old mutant powers and genes and whatever else. It's maybe it's the way they've done it is a bit fanciful, with the coloured skins and the fiery eyeballs and whatever else these guys have got. But mutating genes is not really out of the question because that's where we came from, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. But I guess if you gave any 13 to 17-year-old the chance to change their skin colour today to green or purple or something else, they'd take it. If you gave them any superhuman strengths such as jumping 3 or 4 stories or being able to fly or run really fast, I'm sure they'd take it as well.
There you go. There you go, kids. Go see X-Men First Class for something to look up to, yeah?
Let's face it, that's why X-Men is popular. People just, imagine that they're an X-Man.
Exactly, with a big X on their T-shirt. Another one that I actually hadn't heard about this before you actually fired this over to me was the movie. It's a movie called Now, ominously starring Justin Timberlake and Olivia Wilde. But the concept in it was quite interesting. This idea that aging has been cured at some unspecified point in the future, which leads to social unrest, and this idea that anyone over 25 has to buy the right to stay alive because there's just so many people on the planet. Is that far-fetched, do you think?
Well, one of our early FiST chats was on immortality.
Right.
And this seems to be a very interesting film because it explores that concept. What would happen? everyone, I think, and this has been seen in stories before, but everyone gets excited. Oh, I can be immortal. I'll live forever, do whatever I want. Every night will be Saturday night. But, you might get a little bit sick of work at some stage because I suppose you still have to support yourself somehow. And then on top of that, wouldn't you get sick of all your friends after 150 or 300 years?
That's right. Once you get to 500 years, you might be dying for someone to press the button on you.
Absolutely. At some point, it's quite conceivable you could just get sick of life. And the flip side is the premise of this story, which I think sounds fantastic. We don't know how good it is. But if you were going to live forever, I don't think it'd be too long before the government charged you an annual tax.
A life tax. I mean,
a life tax.
They'll just think of anything. Absolutely.
If you want to keep on living, you got to pay tax.
Think of all the money they generate.
Come to think of it, it's kind of like that already.
Okay, let's have a look at another one. Apollo 18. That looked quite interesting in the vein of those found footage type films. The real story behind the mission. They found something there.
I love this sort of stuff. I mean, for me personally, going to the moon was really big for me as a kid, and just the excitement of us going back there again is great. But I remember back when I was at school, there were some sort of conspiracy theories about moon landings and astronauts having seen aliens and all that sort of stuff up there, and NASA keeping sweeping it all under the carpet. I think it's safe to say that they were exactly that, just conspiracy. I don't think anything happened up on the moon except what we know happened up on the moon. Having said that, though, from a science fiction point of view, and just being in love with the idea of us going back to the moon and a mystery up there, this is a great story, isn't it? I mean, if they do it right, this surely would be a fantastic film.
Oh, absolutely. We'll be hanging out for that one. Then there's this other curious little one, Cowboys and Aliens, and the reason I'm looking forward to this is not necessarily because it's science fiction, but because it actually might show Harrison Ford in a cool role for the first time in like 15 years or something.
You could be right about that. I don't know what to think about this. I mean, look, would this film have been funny if it was just cowboys? Cowboys and aliens? I don't know.
Well, the Western doesn't work for Hollywood anymore, so they've got to inject something else into it, don't they? So
my question to you then, Ben, would be, how do you feel when people tell you that Star Wars is nothing but cowboys and Indians in outer space?
I really wouldn't feel that badly, to be honest. But everything's based on everything that came before. It's just back in the 50s, they couldn't produce stuff in outer space.
Yeah, well, that's true. How does George Lucas feel when they call Star Wars cowboys and Indians?
No, he probably lines everyone up that says that and has them shot or something, or deported to some gulag out the back of his Skywalker ranch or something. Who knows? Let's have a look. Another one, Rise of the Apes. Now, that one actually looks interesting for the simple reason that I don't think there's actually been a good Planet of the Apes film since the first one, back in 68, I think it was.
Yeah, that was a good film.
Love the ending as well. But the great thing I think that was interesting, at least from what I've seen of the previews of this one, is that it takes place on here, and that we, as humans, sort of created the world that gave rise to these apes. So, and it doesn't seem all that far-fetched, experimenting on animals or whatever, somehow makes them smarter.
Well, some people might say that we've been descended from apes, so they gave rise to us. All I hope is that it's a no-name director, a no-name cast, and they just do a fantastic job for a good, enjoyable film that does justice to the original idea.
Absolutely. But the odd thing I thought is that most scientists experiment on rats and mice, don't they? Maybe it should be, Rise of the Mice or something, but it doesn't quite have that same sort of kick to it, does it?
Not quite.
What else we got? We got Super 8, which is kind of an homage to the 80s Spielberg, the old Alien from outer space, but it's seems to be an odd little combination of E.T. and Alien, which it doesn't really sound like it goes together too well.
Well, what did you think? You convinced me not to go and see it.
It's for that reason. How can you have E.T. and Alien in the same film? The scares are quite good, but then you got like this whole story with the kids and everything, and it's two films trying to be one film. So
you're right. If there's Alien in there, those kids should get eaten.
And they almost do. There was one scene where they almost did, but I will say it's got a really spectacular train crash in it. It's not your usual stuff getting blown up. It actually feels dangerous when you're watching this thing.
Probably goes on for 10 minutes.
Yeah, you'd be right about that. Moving, I guess, to comedy, we've got Paul, which that just sounded hilarious to me.
Have you seen it? Have you seen the trailer for it?
Yes, it looked great. Yeah. It looked great. I mean, two sci-fi geeks who actually encounter an opinionated alien.
Look, dare I say it, I think it's something like Alien meets Hangover, or E.T. meets Hangover. I think that's...
See, there you go. I mean, we could work in Hollywood, couldn't we? I mean, we've got the the punchlines already. It's E.T. meets the Hangover, and you can just see some studio exec jumping at that.
Well, we all know how they sell those films, how they pitch them, and I reckon that's how that one would have got up.
Absolutely. What else we got? Probably there's I Am Number 4. That was actually much earlier in the year. Although funny enough, you get I think it's 9 or 10 aliens that just happen to look like really good-looking teenagers, and they come to Earth and they're being chased by some evil thing or whatever.
From CIA or from another alien.
No, who knows? It's one or the other. I figure with some of these films it's interchangeable, but. What about the idea that aliens could look like humans in some way?
Oh, let's not even start. But it would be highly unlikely. Obviously we're related to primates and apes. How many other animals look like us, apart from pigs? Not many. So if you had evolution on another planet, just like Earth, I don't think we'd look quite the same. Maybe we'd have arms and legs. I don't know.
Got to have some way to move around, I guess, unless, they levitate or something like that.
We might have bigger brains on another planet.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess just to finish up, the film that's somehow managed to break heaps of, box office, not records, but has been making a truckload of money in this past week. And that's the third entry to the Transformers franchise, which is probably a sour note to finish up on because aside from the first film, which seemed to be enjoyable, it seems like the second one you can forget about it, and this one seems like somewhere falling in between the two. But again, what do you think? Sentient artificial intelligence in the form of big robots? Do you think that's possible out there?
Well, we've all seen Terminator, so I guess so. I mean, it's a Skynet kind of thing. I mean, the original Terminator Transformer idea is fantastic, and I quite like Transformers, but who's going to watch it these days?
No, it's obviously the demographic. What? There we go. That's who they're secretly making it for, but it's obviously for the sub-24 male demographic that just loves seeing stuff blow up, and because from all accounts, this new film has just about an hour and a half of just solid wall-to-wall non-stop destruction, which, maybe it looks great for 10 minutes, but you'd probably get numb after 20 or so.
Oh, gosh. Well, that might be one to miss.
Well, and on that point, we'll finish up there. I think we've covered quite a few there. So thanks again for the chat, Steve. Always good to hear your insights on these things. So don't forget our website, www.fistchat.com. Catch up with us there. We'll be back again next week. So until then, have a good week.